It's great to see you today on the Raven's Nest, finding hope and spirit in these interesting times. And don't forget to subscribe.
I think that one aspect of right now is that for a lot of people who maybe thought because of skin color or a couple other adjacent things that maybe that they were in the club and that they were being protected and thought of and looked out for right in that club. And
Mm-hmm.
again, they've learned history with certain lenses, not
Right,
learning a lot of things because people
right,
didn't put it in the books and didn't talk about
right,
it or talked about it in a certain way. There's more of that going on right now about school books and what is being banned and whole states and educational systems like not addressing
right.
huge important parts of how we came to be and who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and then how that plays out, and then
Right,
then the splitting of reality, right, where there's different groups of people that think reality is different. I
mm-hmm.
never learned that, so it doesn't exist, right? Wow. So how we learn things and is important, and really any white person who went through school learned a certain history, and not
Right.
we did not learn a lot of things about that history, and
Well, and
that's
depending
mhm,
on what even state, city, or town you went to
is
school
vastly
in,
different.
you
Yes.
learn you learn different history.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, that's a big
And
deal.
then and so then it's this big shock or
Hmm.
denial. Like no, there's no problem here, right? This is
Right.
what I learned. This is what reality. Oh, well, you were I remember very specifically in my early 20s, all through my 20s really, is
Hmm.
that one thing after another of like, are you effing kidding me? Like that was complete. Like what I learned was complete BS.
Hmm.
But it did crack me open. I think that that is an aspect of what we were the seeking. It could be the one thing, whatever the one thing specifically is for someone who has been
Hmm.
taught a certain way. And maybe it's specifically Christianity oriented or some kind of religion oriented, like, wait, what? And then
Hmm.
oh, and then it cracks open the brain, right? And then, well, then what else is a lie, or what else isn't the way I thought it was?
Well,
And
and I think too, we need to be careful with words like it's a lie and it's truth or
uh
it's
huh,
whatever, because um, a lot of it is perception. And I'm gonna tell a story about this. I'm gonna tell myself. Uh, Probably in my 30s or so, for the first time, I went to Chicago, and I'd never been to Chicago. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia and Florida, and Alabama, and so my experience of the world was very much uh, based on my life as a person living in the South. And in this case, as a white person living in the South. And um, I am one of those people who likes to go to museums and who likes to go to libraries and who likes to read and what have you. And so the first time I went to Chicago, I decided to go to a museum in Chicago. And it was a museum dedicated to the Civil War. And I will never forget how shocking it was to me walking through this museum, and it was talking about the valor and bravery of basically Northerners. Because in my experience of Civil War history, being a Southerner, the only people who suffered during the Civil War were Southerners, you know, and so that was a big. And I know it seems really naive, but it was very
Mm.
kind of eye-opening, and it was one of those like aha moments, as it were, where you're walking through going, wow, it kind of helped one see the weight and the legitimacy of the sacrifice, um, of that, and that despite having been taught that the only people who made sacrifices were Southerners, seeing that this sacrifice occurred all the way around was very eye-opening, and it certainly made me think about the way in which wars are fought, and the way in which wars are framed, and the way in which wars are remembered, um, is very, very impactful on the likelihood of us getting into more wars.
Mm-hmm.
And so this kind of glorification, as it were, on the case of both sides in this particular war, but the glorification of the lost and the glorification of that, as opposed to the recognition that it wasn't something gloriful, it was something horrible.
All
And instead
around.
of instead of recognizing it, and instead of commemorating the horror of it, it kind of focused on the glory
Mm.
of it, which I think is has fed into some of the splits that we have in our nation right now. Kind of that glorification of war, that glorification of the ultimate sacrifice, when uh, perhaps we should spend more of our war memorial money on recognizing the horror of it, and the ways in which it is, even the winners don't win.
Mm.
Even the winners don't win. We still had, technically it wasn't legally slavery, but we still had people enslaved to
Oh,
the land
absolutely.
after this war.
Mm-hmm.
Every
It
war
didn't
we've
it didn't
ever
solve
fought,
the issue by any means.
right? Every war
No,
that's ever
the
been
problem.
fought has never defined what winning looks like.
Mm. Yeah.
Winning just means that I have more money than you do,
Well, and formerly
or I have
enslaved,
more resources than you do,
and who has
or
access to resources, because
and
then
right,
after the
exactly,
war there was still all the Jim Crow and it
right.
yeah it
But even when we
mm,
talk about like uh any in World War II, the end of fascism, well, clearly that didn't work.
nope.
In Vietnam, we're fighting for peace, and allegedly peace, and the end of communism. Well, clearly that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And So it's kind of this sense of, the war on drugs. It's this never ending thing where it becomes an excuse to glorify something that is horrible.
Well, and all of those examples come back with us and them, and
Hmm.
so we are right, and so we can do this to you. And
Right.
that's one thing that I think animistically, animist ideas and reality of the web of life is that we are all here together, and no one is innately superior, supreme, just by birth or who they are. And that is not how it works. And so it continually perpetuates the problems.
Hmm.
Yeah. So navigating through, and so we have not fixed it. We have that it has not been fixed. It's still going on in
Right.
the modern iterations that are repeats of the older cycles.
We're glad you joined us today on The Raven's Nest, finding hope and spirit in interesting times. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like what you hear, give us a big thumbs up. We'll see you next time.